And beginning this, we will start with our Chancellor, our very own Chancellor, James R. Martin II, as well as Crystal W. Boyce, Associate Vice Chancellor for Alumni Affairs. She will come and bring to us an alumni proclamation.
What a day. What a day for all of us. So good afternoon to the members of the McNeil family, to the Richmonds, to the McCains, and the Blair Kazans, to the elected leaders from around the state, to our Board of Trustees, to Chancellor Emeritus Harold Martin and First Lady Davida Martin, to our amazing faculty and our professional staff and our incredible students, and to the many, many, many friends of this amazing university, North Carolina A&T, welcome to Aggie Land. Again, what an extraordinary day for us all. It's a day of grief, yes, but it's also a day of reflection and a day of celebration. It's a day of homage. It's a day of respect, but still a celebration of life. There are few things in this world more powerful than a life well lived, and that's what we're here to celebrate. This is a moment in which we each recall what brought us here to this special place and how this special place has called forth the best in all of us. And most importantly, how this place has helped us understand that we have the capacity to change the world around us, even as young people, especially as young people, how we have the capacity to change and be better versions of ourselves if we simply have the faith and courage to follow our convictions, as so many have before. Aggies like the Reverend Jesse Jackson, America's first major black presidential candidate, Judge Henry Fry, the first black Chief Justice of the North Carolina Supreme Court, like Elreda Alexander Ralston, the first black woman to practice law in North Carolina and the state's first elected black judge, like Janice Bryant Howard, the first African-American woman to build and lead a billion-dollar company. And like Major General Joseph A. McNeil Sr., the catalyst for a sit-in protest that would not only change lunch counter policies across the South, but that would spur the passage of the 1964 U.S. Civil Rights Act, bringing justice to Americans, American communities, from Raleigh to Rochester, from Charlotte to Chicago, from Wilmington, all the way out to Washington State, across this great nation. We walk a path of freedom and liberation and truth, cleared by Joseph McNeil and his three brothers in arms. And it is, of course, the passing of General McNeil that brings us together today in this moment of respect and reverence. He left this earth just 1 week ago today, but his presence is still with us, as I expect it will be for years, many generations to come. You know, Shakespeare once wrote, "Some are born great, some achieve greatness, and some have greatness thrust upon them." I do believe General McNeil experienced greatness in all three ways. As a young man born in the Deep South during some of the most tumultuous moments of the Jim Crow era, he might have grown up embittered and cynical. Instead, he believed in the possibility of a different kind of future. He believed in a possibility of liberty. As a teenager experiencing discrimination and bigotry on a daily basis, he might have thrown up his hands in frustration and despair. Instead, he chose to believe that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens that were young people, teenagers, they could change the world. And once that small group led by him did exactly that, he might have chosen a quiet life, content to have made his mark. Instead, he chose to serve his country so that liberty might be extended to all others and that they might breathe freely. That, in essence, is the story of Joseph McNeil. So I'm blessed to have met and spent time with him earlier this year at the 65th celebration of the February 1 sit-in. It was cold that day. General McNeil could have stayed home. In fact, many thought he would, as he faced significant health challenges at the time. But he was never one to take the easy way out. He never moved in the direction that fear or discomfort dictated. And so when the day came and nearly 1,000 of us were gathered in the Alumni Event Center, there he was, moving with some assistance and grace, but he was sitting straight, as only a military officer would, with his attention riveted on the proceedings, still focused and in charge. Students, community members, and media around the room stretched their necks to get a glimpse of this man, this living legend. And we all later on braved the winter weather at the February 1 monument to lay a wreath and remember the other members of the four who had already passed, David Richmond and Franklin McCain. But he was right there with his eyes focused intently on the ceremony. No one would have blamed him had he remained at the Alumni Center, but duty called, and he always answered to duty. He never shirked away from that. In the photos from that morning, you can tell he didn't mind the cold at all. In fact, in several of them, he looks ready to stand up and lead the crowd once again in the mile walk to Woolworths, 65 years prior. So our time together was brief that morning, but he left an enormous impression, as only a great person can. Now, he wasn't a giant man in terms of his physical stature. He was about my height, quiet, unassuming, serious, focused. It's almost impossible to look at him based on physical stature and not wonder at the courage he mustered 65 years ago at the age of 17 and the vow he made then that the indignity of everyday life that Black Americans faced at the time would not go unchallenged on his watch, not on his watch. Joseph McNeil stood up so that we all could sit down. He spoke up so the rest of us might not suffer in silence. And most importantly, he called upon this great nation to live up to its most prized ideals, ideals of equality, ideals of liberty, and ideals of freedom. And he kept calling until America answered. So on behalf of Aggies everywhere, I extend my deepest sympathies to the McNeil family. And to the many others who knew Joseph McMill better and longer than I did, you know, the great Maya Angelou just once said, "A great soul serves everyone all the time. Great souls never die. They bring us together again and again." He was a great soul. And as we celebrate his life today, a life extraordinarily well lived, I look forward to February 1, 2026, when he, David Richmond, Franklin McCain, Jabril Kazan will bring us all together once again. The light he leaves behind will shine on our paths for generations to come. God bless and Godspeed.